Finally got the car back from the interior. Kelly's Auto in Columbus, Indiana. Did a really nice job. Something we did a little different. We put a nice bead on the front of this to help make that look nice. That also kept us from having to tuck the leather down in behind the dash and tear all that out. So it just makes it a lot easier to replace that in the future. A couple things we gotta tweak yet. The ashtray has a bezel that goes on there. The opening was just a little tight, so somebody did some fiberglass work or something there, so we'll have to take that off and Dremel that out a little bit so that the bezel can go around that. And the other thing we noticed was need to take these cushions just sit down in there and need to paint this pan. So I'll take the seats back out and I have to paint that pan at some point. And then one more thing is when we put this trim on the windshield, it's not glued, so this can, when you get the pressure of the top all snapped on there, it wants to pull up on this a little bit. So you can take this trim off. There's some screws right here on each side, and this will just slide off. So I've got some 3M urethane glue that is windshield glue. So I'll go ahead and put some down in that channel, glue that on, let that set up really tight. That way when you snap the top on, it doesn't try to pull this trim off the windshield. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. I don't have the hinges put on back here yet. We did set the trunk or the convertible cover in place and had this screwed down so that they could get the tightness on this. So later on I'll show some videos with that. And then we got the wheel cover in there. They did a nice job with some carpet in the back, so it's coming along. Now I've got to get back on this engine and you know, where we left off there before I took this to the interior guys was I had coolant get down the oil pan, so I think the head wasn't set. So we're gonna pick up there next and see if we can get the head to set straight if there's no cracks in the block. So here's the plan to see if this block's got leaks. You can kind of see down in these water jackets, you know, there's some fluid down in there. And what I'm going to do is use a funnel and I'm going to fill each one of these water jackets up and see if it drains down. If it does, that means there's a crack in the block somewhere. Okay, we've got the water fill up. You can see I've got it almost to the top edge back here. Now with the slant of that engine, there's some fluid down in there, but not very much in this front so far due to that angle. So it looks like these passages are all connected in here. So I'm going to jack the back of the car up to try to get it a little more level and see if I can get the system a little fuller. Right now I've got the oil plug out, and that one drop there was just when I took the cap off. So far nothing's leaking out. That's good. Okay, it's been about an hour or so and no fluid has come out of the block, leaked into the oil pan. So I think originally we just didn't get the head gasket seated very well. I ordered an original gasket from Olson Gaskets. There's this nice Victor, this is kind of a rubbery coating on a multi-layer gasket. And then I've got the copper spray. I'll put a thin to medium coat on the whole gasket, and then we'll start to reassemble. Okay, I've got the copper coating on the gasket. Using the engine hoist, and we'll bring this down super slow. So you gotta be careful. This valve is up right here, so we just gotta slowly bring it down. We also don't want to bang it into the gasket and Put a big dent in there. Okay, I've got a couple bolts just touching in the hole to keep it lined up while this is coming down. Got the gasket in place. Things are kind of lined up, so I'm gonna let the head come all the way down now. Okay, before we start going through the tightening sequence, one of the things I learned last time I put this together is there's a lot of accessories using the head bolts. So, for example, the accelerator linkage is using a couple head bolts. There's a wire router there. The oil filter has a couple bolts. So you want to make sure you get all those in place before you start tightening the head, because that could have been what caused my head not to seal last time, is I thought I had it all together, and then I had to take some of these loose again to put that other stuff on. So we've got all that ready. I got the manual. It says 60 to 70 inch-pounds, and it's got the tightening sequence. So you can see right here, and then there's the sequence, and we're going to do it in thirds. So I'm going to take the middle starting bolt up to about 20 pounds and then just let it sit there for a little bit. Okay, got the first round to 20 pounds, and what I noticed, I went through the sequence once and then I started the sequence again, and they all moved a little bit more to get to 20 pounds again. So I went through the sequence twice to put it at 20, and now I'll wait and see if they stay at 20, and then from there, then I'll go to 40. Well, we got everything torqued up, and as soon as I put I just put a little bit of coolant in just to get it above the head, the level of the head. As soon as I did that, coolant started dripping out of the oil pan again. So I'm starting to think there's a crack in this head somewhere that I can't see. So I'm gonna get that back off of there. Yeah, I've cleaned all this off really well, and it's got fluid all the way up to the top. It's staying there. Same thing on this. I flipped the head upside down and did the same thing with it. Filled it completely full with fluids. I'm not getting any drips underneath, so I don't see where there could be cracks leaking. But I did notice on this gasket, you know, it's nice that I sprayed the copper stuff on there, because wherever there's shiny copper, it means, you know, the metal didn't compress there. And I can see some shiny copper between this water jacket area and this oil return. That's where the push rod goes down in, so that's going to go right to the oil pan. So if any water can get between these two guys, which it's shiny all the way around this edge to this guy also, the rest of these look like they sealed. This one's a little questionable right here. So I put a flat edge on the block and the head. They look super flat. I don't see any spaces under them. I do notice on these gaskets there's a pretty good lip here, and I've never had a compression issue. You know, the engine will run fine. And I'm wondering, this step's pretty aggressive. So I'm thinking about just getting another gasket, try again, but this time around all these oil passages, I'm thinking I'm going to put some sealant or something on both sides of the gasket to try to seal that off, because it looks like no matter what I do, I can't completely seal some of these areas off between these passages. I'm gonna let this block set overnight with the fluid, and you can see we dropped a good 3/8 of an inch of fluid overnight, went right into the oil pan. So there's definitely a crack in this block somewhere, so I've got to find me another block now.